This is my new van. I just pulled it at a scrapyard, and this series is where I'm going to show you how I return this back to be a usable vehicle for a daily driver. Obviously, it didn't look like this when I pulled out the jaws of the crusher. It had a horrendous vinyl wrap on it, all the plastics were yellow, deteriorated, it had accident damage down the side of it. If you want to see how I fixed it, stick around, watch this series, and I'm going to show you every step. So one of the first things I'm going to do, because it's going to potentially be a legal issue with this, is the headlights on it are, it's maybe hard to see on camera, but they're very yellowed and hazy, and it was actually listed on the MOT as a advisory. They put it down as a product on the headlight lens, which is not accurate, it's just weathered. But that means the fact it's an advisory this year means that next year it's probably going to fail over it. So I need to fix that. You can buy kits to do headlight restoration. I had a look when I was in Halfords, they're really expensive and they're basically just polish. So I think I'm going to try, because these are cheap and I don't really mind if I damage them. This is basically just car polish, and I think I'm going to try using that on here and see if it cleans them up. If it doesn't, no big deal, I'll just replace them. So I'll put some tape down here and we'll give it a try and see if it works. One moment. So I've put this in half so you can see how much of a difference it makes. I've got just that Auto Glim body polish. It's the stuff you would use for paint. This bottle is getting a bit empty, but I've put just a little bit there on the end of the cloth. We're going to try polishing this and see how much of a difference it makes. Yeah, I think that is making a bit of a difference. You can see on the rag as well how much dirt's coming off, so I'm going to do that for the rest of this half the headlight, and I'll get back to you in a second. So I've done it all down this side, and I can already see a difference, but if I peel this tape off, hopefully it'll become a bit more evident. Yeah, look at that. So that's worked really well actually, that's much better. You can see the difference here between the two sides. All I was doing there is just put a little bit of polish on the cloth, rub with firm pressure, not too hard, otherwise you'll crack the outer lens of the light and then you have to replace it anyway, and just go across this way, because if the scoring is horizontal like that, it won't affect the light output of the lamp. If the scoring goes up and down like this, it will, and again it will fail the MOT for beam projection. But that's worked really well actually. I'm going to do the other half of this, I'm going to do the same on the other side of the van, because the other one's like this too, and I'll get back to you in a second, but this is working really well. So yeah, that's worked to treat that hat, so that's worked amazing. These are basically like new again. So I have no problems on the MOT this year. Unfortunately, when you do that polishing, you take the UV protectant that's on the lens off that was put on in the factory. So they'll yellow again much faster. The thing is, though, they're already yellowed, so it's not really a problem. You can buy UV protectant to put back on, so I think I'll try and get some. But even if I can't, it's no big deal, I'll just polish them again in like a year's time when the MOT comes around again, and they'll be fine. One other thing which I think I should mention is this polishing compound here has silicone in it, so you have to be very careful not to get it on panel work that you want to paint. So I've left the vinyl wrap on this, and I've opened the bonnet so I don't accidentally get any on paint work that I want to paint, because I'm not sure what the paint is like underneath this wrap. I've not taken it off yet. So I just want to avoid doing that, because if you get silicone on paintwork or on panels and then try and paint them, the paint will just fall off, it won't stick. And getting the silicone back off again is a complete pain. But yeah, this works really well. I'm going to go do the other side now, and I'll be back in a second. So yeah, that's worked to treat on this side too. Really pleased with that actually. This is quite a good trick, I think. If your headlights are all yellowed, rather than spending like, I think it was 40 quid the one in Halfords for the restoration kit, which is literally, hey, it was just polish and a pad. There wasn't really even the UV protector, it was just polish and pad. So just use your body polish you've already got, knock around the garage, or buy some, probably like tenner. Use that, works really well, get it through the MOT, and then just do it again next year if it hazes over. Yeah, like that, good. Now I'm going to get on something else. Probably going to start trying to get that wrap off, because I want to get that off before I try and fix these bumpers here. Again, because I've got to wash underneath this and don't want to wash the product off the bumper once I put it on. So I think I'm going to go and try and attack that now, and I'll see how that goes. I'll be back to you in a bit. This, I'm hoping, is going to have a transformative impact on the look of this van, make it much less dated, and that's trying to fix this plastic, so the wheel arches, bumpers, that kind of thing, door handles. I think this is actually supposed to be black, and it's just very faded, although it might be grey, I'm not sure. I know that grey plastic was an option on these, but I think that was only from 2009 onwards, and this is 2007, but I might be wrong, not sure, we'll see. Anyway, in order to fix this, there are a couple of things you can do. You can use a heat gun. I don't particularly like the idea of that, because there is quite a risk, I think, of melting things. So I have this stuff instead, which is basically another Autoglym product, the bumper and trim gel. We will see how good it is. I don't know, I've not tried it yet. It says you're supposed to apply it with a perfect polish applicator. I'm not doing that because I don't have one. We should be using a rag. Apply it liberally across the panel, even coating, blah blah blah. Buff away the excess with microfiber cloth to prevent runs in wet weather. Will not damage paintwork. Wipe it off using cloth. Okay, seems simple enough. Let's try it out. Can't remember if I said it before, but I have washed this first. It does say you're supposed to wash the plastic just normally before you apply this stuff. If I said that before, I'll probably cut this out. If I didn't, I won't. So pause for me to cut it if I need to. And let's apply it. I have applied some to this thing, and let's see. Oh, this plastic does actually look grey to me rather than black. That's interesting. Obviously Google was wrong. But I'm going to apply this across the whole rest of the panel, and then we'll buff it off. So, one moment. Okay, that's the whole panel evenly coated. I now have a clean rag, and we will buff the plastic. I'm not sure how much of this I need to do, so we'll do it for a bit and see what the results are like. So actually I think that's turned up very well, that has. This has worked surprisingly well. As I think this is grey, comparing this to other black plastic on the van that you can't see, which is definitely black, like the wing mirror. This is grey, not black, but yes, happy with that. Now let's go on to the rest of the plastics. I don't know if I film it or not, maybe time lapse, we'll see. So this is going to be a bit harder to deal with. The gel stuff should hopefully hide it a bit, but there are some rags of sort of torn plastic, so I'm just going to snip them off with my side cutters quickly to try and flatten it out a bit. I'm sort of torn. I'm not sure whether I'm going to bother taking some sandpaper over this to try and smooth it out a little bit. I don't think it would be a good idea, to be honest. I think it would just make it look worse. So I'm probably just going to roll with the scraping in it and hope that the gel will hide it. And I'm just going to continue this across all the rest of the damage further down, which you can't see. But I think you get the point. I'm going to just do this across the rest of the panel. So this is another safety related job, and also it will fail its MOT over this. But I have the rubber covers here on the clutch and brake in the driver's footwell are not perished but worn through. So you can see particularly on the clutch here, the metal is exposed. It will fail its MOT over this, because if the metal is exposed, there's a risk that your foot will slip off the pedal when you're driving, and that could obviously be rather dangerous. So fortunately I have two replacement ones. These are not official, they're aftermarket, but they're like a tenth the price, and as far as I can tell, is a bit of rubber. A bit of rubber is a bit of rubber. So I'm going to use these. They probably won't last as long, but I'll just replace them again. These should, I think, just pop off like this, hopefully. Yes, that was easy. And then these new ones will hopefully just slip on as well, although I am going to glue them, I think. These are quite tight. But yes, I'm going to glue them. I might actually clean that pedal up a little bit too, because it's slightly rusted. Yes, 1 second. So that's then painted just in black satin spray paint. Durability is not a concern, so only one coat, because the pedal rubber will prevent them from being abraded by footwear when you're driving. I have just tried dry fitting one of these, and they're ridiculously tight, and I couldn't actually get it on all the way. So I'm not going to be able to film putting these on, because I am definitely going to have to be where the camera is in order to manhandle them in. So I'm going to put these on. I'll get back to you in a second. I am going to glue them on, I think, using Bostik. I don't know how you would describe it. It's basically just a tube of glue. The problem I was finding is most manufacturers of glues specifically say not to use it with rubber or rubberized surfaces. So Contact Adhesive says don't use it with rubber. The Wet Wall Adhesive says don't use it on rubber. Most of the ones I checked said don't use it with rubber. I think Bostik should be fine. But you should check yourself, and don't quote me on that. But as I say, I think it will be fine. And there we go, that's the covers on both. You can see they now have full rubber coverings over them, so there will be no issues for the MOT whatsoever. Hopefully these last me a couple of years, by which point I probably won't have this van anymore and I'll have got something else. But yes, you'll have to forgive the shaky camera as well, because I can't be bothered setting the tripod back up for a 20-second clip. This is one of the jobs I have been trying to avoid doing, because it's going to be rather unpleasant. This here is the screen wash bottle for the van, and it has been previously filled by I don't know who, and I don't know what was going through their mind. I assume I can't be bothered, but they filled it with water, just water, no screen wash additive, which means that this is absolutely full of basically bacterial growth and algae and horrible biofilm. So I need to drain that, suck all the shit out the bottom of the bottle, and I've got a bucket on the floor I'm going to drain it into. Obvious health and safety warning, ideally you'd do this with a pump, but I don't have one, so I'm going to have to siphon it. As I was saying, it's biofilm, which will be composed of things like Listeria, Legionella, E. coli, various very nasty things that you do not want to consume. So this is just an interjection from editing me quickly, because I kind of misspoke here. What we ended up doing was using a bottle of water to backfill the pipe with fresh water by just sort of lifting it up, and then quickly by pulling that pipe full of water out of the bottle, still full of water, stick your thumb over the end of it, you can then start the siphon without having to actually suck anything through it, which makes it much safer, because you're or there is no risk then of you accidentally ingesting any of the contaminated water which you're trying to siphon back out. This is bucket number 2, the screen wash bottle in this thing is bloody enormous. But you can see what I was talking about with all of the black biofilm and stuff that's being sucked out. That's all the bacteria, which is what the point of the additive is to prevent that as well as to stop it freezing. So yeah, this was definitely worthwhile doing, because otherwise all of that would end up going through the pump and blocking the nozzles and stuff, and it's a complete nightmare because you have to take it all apart and try and clean it out. But yes, that's why we're doing it. You can see it all getting sucked out there through the holes. So I'm not sure exactly how big the tank in this actually is. It's quite large, evidently, from when we're siphoning it out. And I should have said as well, we've siphoned it out, filled it with clean water, siphoned it out, filled it with clean water, siphoned it out, filled it with clean water, again and again and again, in order to wash all the crap out the bottom of the tank, basically. So we've probably done that 5-6 times. I'm just going to put some of the additive in and then some of the water, and we will go from there. Of course, it's got a glued cap. One moment. I'll put a bit more than that. And just sort of looking at how much is left in the bottle. That'll do. We'll see. And then I have another bottle of water. And I aim to put quite a lot more of that in. And just having a look, I can see, you probably can't, but I can see water in the bottom of this little thing here. So that means that this is basically full. So I'm going to stop there, and that should hopefully do me. We'll see. I might, depending on how long this takes to run out, because I've not actually had this van long enough to know how long one of these lasts, I might siphon it back out again and refill it if it's lasting too long and I'm getting concerned about the evaporation. But yes, there we go, that's one thing out of the way. Thank you very much for watching this video. I'm sorry it's been a bit all over the place because I was just sort of trying to make something cohesive out of a bunch of random clips that do not fit well into anything else. Hopefully the next one will be a bit more sort of linear, because that is, I think, going to be covering electrical work, provided I can get it all finished by next week. Anyway, yes, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. As usual, any questions or anything, drop them below. I read all the comments, so I'll do my best to help. And yeah, I'll see you all next time. Remember to subscribe for future episodes and go back and see the previous ones if you're interested. I will put links to them in the description. Yes, see you all next week.